Hi, everybody. Welcome to the syllabus explanation video. I imagine this is not going to be the most scintillating lecture of the entire semester. Going over the syllabus, maybe it's like going to the gym and for a hard workout, but it's good for us. It's good for your health, going to the gym or whatever you're up to. And the syllabus videos can be that way too. So I will try to make it as concise as possible for all of you. Welcome to class. Give you guys an idea of what's coming up and how the semester is going to work. Of course, as you guys know, we're using modules and Canvas. Let's jump in. So welcome to History 4A, History, World History, the first half, which is the ancient world up to the 1500s. It's a fantastic topic. It is an inexhaustible source of inspiration, warning, wisdom, terrifying stories, romance, love, treachery. It's all there. It's extraordinary. And we're going to take that journey together, although it's going to be kind of quick, as you guys know. But, all right. So, let's take a look here and let's go over the syllabus a little bit. And I start off with a quote by Machiavelli. That is that gentleman here, right here on the left. That's Machiavelli staring back at you guys. And Machiavelli says, across time, whoever wishes to foresee the future must consult the past. For human events ever resemble those of preceding times. This arises from the fact that they are produced by men and women who have ever been and ever shall be animated by the same passions, and thus they necessarily have the same results. Now, to be careful here, I don't think Machiavelli is saying history is cyclical or it is a great circle, and certainly as a historian, I would not say that either. But on the other hand, you don't have to reinvent the wheel. Although technologies that change profoundly in the millennia that the human story has developed, the human intelligence, human wisdom, the human will, human agency, the good, the depths, and the heights of human creativity and intelligence and humanity, all that, and the potential for good or harm has not changed. So I imagine that's what Machiavelli is talking about, is that although clothing styles, and again, thank God, technology, our knowledge of the natural world, many things have changed profoundly, and in a lot of ways, good ways. It's good to live in when we do right now. But the human heart, the human psyche, the human emotion, the sense of self and of others, that has not changed. And so one of the wonderful things about traveling into the ancient world is we have a chance to, from a safe distance and time, to observe the best and worst of the human condition, to be inspired by it, to be warned by it, and much more. So as we journey together, we'll start out with Machiavelli. And if you're wondering who is the beautiful young lady there on the right, that is one of the muses. That's Calliope, the Greek goddess of eloquent speech and epic poetry. According to Greek or perhaps medieval Renaissance belief systems, she was the most important muse behind Homer's creation of the Iliad and Odyssey. Now, muse means it's kind of the female embodiment of personification of the art and genius and creation, and she's whispering in Homer's ear. Now, obviously, it's mythological, but her symbolism of that creative genius, that human spark to inspire, is useful. So we kind of personify that with, in this case, this muse, Calliope. And I chose a quote I like a great deal from Homer's Odyssey. And the quote says, men, again, why late women, because you guys know the ancient world tends to be male dominated, although it's always a little more complicated than that surface statement is. It is male dominated, but don't discount the ladies and the female genius in the ancient world too. Although oftentimes, again, the males tend to get a lot of limelight, a lot of attention, unquestionably. But We'll see that when we get in ancient Rome, ancient Greece too. Don't discount the females and larger worlds will too. In any case, let's get back to Homer's quote. Men and women are so quick to blame the gods. They say that we devise their misery, means the gods devise humans' misery. But they themselves, means humanity, in their depravity design greater griefs than the griefs that fate assigns. Translation, when things go wrong, our natural temptation is to blame the heavens or God or some outside forces. And Homer is putting a truth in here, a profound truth, which is, okay, maybe the gods are responsible. But more likely, far more likely, is the human agent, the individual, that'd be you and I, in an ancient world, them. That the human agent is the one, it's their decisions, their choices, them following the better angels of their nature or the worse angels that leads them into disaster and catastrophe. But it's them, it's not the gods made them do those things. It's their own weaknesses or strengths in this case. But the fate that is given to them is not etched by the gods, etched by lightning from Mount Olympus. Instead, much more likely, it's the individual decisions. It's brilliant. That resonates in our current time period too. That certainly outside forces always play a major role. But what am I doing? What are you doing as we respond to the challenges of life and our human condition within that larger life? All right. So I want to briefly move on here and. Of course, as a historian, I want to give a brief shout out to the previous masters who really refined the craft, which I practice today. Well, historians. That on the left is Greek historian Herodotus, who we'll talk about when we get into ancient Greece. Brilliant writer, dissecting the human condition in a very profoundly new way. Then in the middle is Sima Qian. He was a Chinese historian, really the father of Chinese history writing. On the right, that's the Arab historian Ibn Khaldun, and he's the father of the kind of Islamic historiography or Islamic history writing. Now, you don't really know. I wanted to show you a reminder that we're always getting this journey in the past filtered through the pen and the opinions and the interest and the art of individuals, men and women, who have recorded these things. And so we're paying both the respect to them for recording these things, but also we have to keep an eye on them too, because we know they have their own biases, their own perceptions. And so we have a twin task to both be grateful for what they recorded for us, but also to take a step back, maybe relax just a bit and pause and be aware that our guides are also part of this story too. As our guides leading us through the ancient world, through the written word, but the guide is also part of that story too, to keep an eye on them because they're filtering these human events to you and I, and it's important to keep our mind on that they're filtering. All right. After that preamble, let's get down to what's going on in our class. So here we go. So your professor of history, that would be this guy right here. And that is me, Mike Lorenz. So welcome to class, everybody. Glad you could be with me. I love what I do. I love my job. So the job requires, like all jobs, there's some downsides, a lot of grading, hard work and stuff. But I love journeying in and studying the human experience. That bookcase you see behind you, and you can't really see that one over there. Oh, and you can see a little bit of it. Chock full of books. I got many books beyond those. My home office, which we'll see in a lot of lecture videos, is also full of books. And I have books other places too. Love what I do. So I'm happy to take you with me on a journey into the ancient world. So, okay, let's get to it. So my office in the IC building, although it's an online class, you don't have to worry about that, frankly. I will mention it to you in case during the regular semester, if you want to come by and say, hi, I'm in the IC building 219. I always like when students drop by to chat a little bit, so please come by. So if you take the class online, which you guys are, But if you want to come by and have a little in person, see a 3D version of me, which I would certainly like, and to see you in 3D, please drop on by in my office hours. There's my office phone, but again, an online class, that's usually not good. I'm not be available on that, but I will be available. And the best way to get a hold of me, of course, is through email. There's my email there. You can also message me in Canvas. It also routes it to my email. Either one works really well. But and I would try to get back to you fairly quickly. Zoom office hours, Monday through Thursday, 1 to 2 p.m. So I will be available, and there is the Zoom info right below that, kind of repeating the same thing. I'm not sure why to put it in there twice, but I did. And importantly, what is new to you guys there is the Zoom ID number. That's the Zoom ID number you guys will use to log into my Zoom office hours. So, okay. Requisites and advisories, don't worry about that stuff. Required books. You'll need this one right here, Augustus by Anthony Everett. And you'll need your textbook, The Human Record by Andrean Overfield, Volume 1. Make sure you guys get Volume 1. And I should mention right now, in case you're wondering, I know there's some professors who they have books, but you know, little secret. You don't really have to have the book for the class. That is not my class. If you don't have this book right here, and read the book, by the way, and you don't have this book right here, and read that book, the class is not possible. As a historian, I take the written word very seriously. And by the way, the stories, why wouldn't you? The stories are so good. I think you guys will really enjoy Augustus. It has one of the most famous love stories in human history, Antony and Cleopatra in there, has endless examples of the best and worst of humanity. I think you guys will really enjoy it. And this book maybe is a bit more of a challenge, but I think you guys will enjoy this too. So those are 2 books you need for class. You want to get them right away because we're going to jump right in with our class. So, all right. So those are 2 books you guys need for class. Now, I do recommend a 3rd book, but that's really only if you're a history major. If you're a history major, that 3rd book, I'd list there, A Pocket Guide to Writing History by Mary Lynn Rampolla. Be really good for you. The rest of you guys, you do not need that book. You are good. Just if you're a history major, I'm going to give you guys a little tip in the future. That's a very handy little reference book to have if you're a history major. But for all the rest of you guys, nothing that in this class requires that extra book. It's just simply recommended, again, for history majors, or for those of you who want to do a lot of academic writing in the future. Maybe English majors might be helpful too, but in any case, primarily history majors. All right. As you guys know, we'll be using Canvas, of course, in this class, and you guys kind of know the drill already. So that will be our interface with each other, will be Canvas. We will use Zoom for office hours, as you guys know. Zoom etiquette. Well, usually it's probably just you and I talking, but, you know, just be respectful. And maybe I don't need to put that in there. It's kind of obvious, but, you know, yeah. You can use Zoom office hours, be good for both of us. You need help, work on the paper. You ask some questions. You came across something's not clear to you. Or you just want to discuss what you read. Maybe you read something in Anthony Everett's Augustus, and you really enjoyed that, or you're puzzled, and you're like, what's going on here? I don't get it. Like, why would they have done this? Not come to my Zoom office hour. Let's talk about this, break it down. I'd love to hang out with you guys a little bit, so I'll use those. All right. Course description. This is an extensive survey course of world history from earliest court history up to 1650, and it covers the full gamut of the human experience and the whole world. Now, obviously, there's only so much we can pack into one semester, and it will go by, for me, it goes by quick, but we'll do our best to give you guys a broad range of the human experience from earliest court history up to 1650. All right, goals of the course. I get a little drink there. All right, introduction to historiography. Historiography, by the way, is simply a fancy word that historians use, and it means to study the writing of history itself. Not just history, but the writing of history, reminding us that the historian, the writer, she or he is making choices They have their own biases, their own perceptions, as you guys know. And so for the historian today, that we read ancient history or modern history for that matter, to always pause and be thoughtful and curious, which is, who is the guide who's leading me through this forest of facts and events and consequence? Who is my guide? Because the guides matter, right? And so historiography is saying, I must also study my guide, which means the historian. What are they about? What's important to them? What are their biases and their predilections, and what's their way of looking at the world? Because obviously the history I read from them will be colored and influenced by that. And so that process of examining the guide, what the guide's doing, as they're filtering the human experience to us, that's called historiography. All right, historical critical thinking skills, we'll get to those here in a minute, and academic writing will help you guys with academic writing or college level writing. And then there's a fabulous quote there by James Baldwin, the brilliant African-American writer, who writes, history does not refer merely or even principally to the past. On the contrary, the great force of history comes from the fact that we carry it within us, are unconsciously controlled by it in many ways, and history is literally present in all that we do. Now, I can't tell you as a historian how much I like that quote. It justifies my job, but it's also profoundly true. That there's nothing that we do that is not impacted by the historic record. I'll give you guys a brief example of this. When my kids were growing up, we'd watch Phineas and Ferb. Maybe some of you guys are Phineas and Ferb fans yourselves. Phineas and Ferb, every once in a while, for Dr. Doofenshmirtz, they would go into the backstory. I always love the backstory of him. What country was he from? Some European, maybe some of you guys remember. In any case, but I always like to go to the backstory, like what's going on, explain who Dr. Doofenshmirtz really is. That's what James Baldwin's talking about on a much more profound level, is history is present all the way through. It does not mean, in a sense, that we need to have this long litany of dates and so forth. No, but our world today, when you and I, when our eyes blink and look out on the larger world, although it's very humbling to say, there's not a lot of unique thoughts coming out of this thing right here. I would like to imagine that. My ego would like to imagine that this thing's a Ferrari of intelligence, independence, and creativity. I would like to imagine that. But the reality is, the vast majority of the thoughts here, some of them are thousands of years old, and some of them are relatively recent. Same for all of you guys. Now, what's oftentimes is that's not explained to us why we think that way, why we react that way. We almost robotically respond to the world around us based on many, many layers of the human story, the human experience, all filtered down to us through education, through family, through culture, through nation, society, media, all of it filtered down to us. But there's almost no aspect of the human experience that is not profoundly impacted by the ancient world and more modern world, of course, too. But for our class, we're going to focus on the ancient world. So, for example, our idea of ethics. If you happen to be a person of faith, and I happen to be one myself, if you're a person of faith, the nature of your faith probably is a minimum. It depends, but, thousands and thousands of years old. Does not mean that faith does not evolve and progress. Yes, certainly. But its origins, its ethical, spiritual origins in almost all cases are ancient. Now, again, we're not denying that there's some evolutionary changes and our perception of that faith, the spiritual system may be modified in our current world, certainly. But its general origins there are quite ancient. Same thing when it comes to the arts, and cultural formulations, philosophy, etc., etc. Much of it comes from the ancient world. And so I don't want to spend too long here on the James Baldwin quote, because I could, and we got to get on to the nuts and bolts of the syllabus. So don't worry, I'm going to move off this in just a moment. But my plea for you guys is that James Baldwin, we want to the best of our ability, to be a freer agent and not simply robotically respond to the world around us, almost cloned, because we don't have the ability to be self-aware, historically self-aware, to realize, maybe I perceive these things because history and culture and education has downloaded things in my mind. I'm not saying that's negative. I'm just saying we want to be self-aware to realize, the reason our culture, the way our society looks at these things, because these things have been downloaded from history into our minds. Again, that could be good. That could be fine. Sometimes it can be quite negative. And it's helpful to be self-aware of realizing why these things are, the backstory, the context of why the world is the way it is. One last example, and we'll leave James Baldwin's quote. If you guys are dating, or if you're married, or in the future, it's very important as time goes by, as much as possible, to know your loved one's backstory. Otherwise, oftentimes their behavior, their perceptions will be just a complete mystery to you. Like, why would they react that way? I don't get it at all. Like, why? Well, you know their backstory. There's probably a reason, a rationale for why it is they react the way they do. So it makes our world more intelligible to us, understand like why things are they are, and gives us a greater capacity to make choices in our contemporary world. That's for you and I, as we look at the world around us, have a greater ability to make choices, and hopefully good choices in the world around us, based on knowing the backstory and having a freer access to formulate how we react to it. Okay, that was a little bit long. I'm going to speed up here a little bit. So, in fact, the paragraph in front of you, I think I'm going to largely fast forward past that, because I just mentioned historiography. You can pause if you guys want to, because again, I kind of break down a little more what that is, historiography. But I think I did verbally already, so I think we'll move on from that. That paragraph I just passed is saying we're going to analytically, as students of history, to process things in a new way. So not simply reading the book, which of course we will, but also reading the author. That's this guy, Anthony Everett. What's he about? Or whoever it is. Same thing for our ancient world here too. So those are kind of larger goals of the class: analyzing primary, secondary sources. This is a secondary source, and these are primary sources right here. And we'll get into more of that later in a separate video. But for right now, maybe I think we'll move on. These kind of larger goals for the class. See, look at the global movements and interconnections. Yep. Definitely do that. We'll try to over and over again discuss how do these things from 2,000 years ago, 3,000 years ago, how are they impactful for us today? How do they frame the story of the human experience? What can we learn from them? Student learning outcomes. I'll move through this just quickly, but A says evaluate primary and secondary sources by composing an argument using them for support. We'll do that in the analysis paper, which we'll get to here in a few minutes, a little bit later on in the syllabus. But I'm going to help you use those two different sources as you're developing an argument or an idea that you're going to explain using the sources. And you see B, analyze major political trends, attitudes, conflicts, events, and their historical significance. Yep, we'll do that. And C, assess major social cultural developments, their cause and effect, significance. Yep, we'll do that. All right, finally, all that preview's done. Let's get down to the very simple thing which you guys are probably waiting for, like, what do I need to do for class? All right, so the class has 5 main assignments that you guys will be working on. The first one is called Response to Readings Direct Quote Analysis. As I mentioned, we'll be reading Anthony Everett's Augustus together, the life of Rome's first emperor. And we'll be reading this primary source reader, The Human Record, Source of Global History by Andre Noverfield. So I want to get you guys engaged with the text on both of those. And the way I'm going to do that, besides the simple, we're assigning you chapters to read or specific primary sources to read from both of those texts, I want to get you guys involved with an assignment that you'll do as you read. And I'll make this explanation very short because I'm going to make a special video going into more detail and show you guys a good sample of it, just exactly how to do this. So this will be a very short description. There'll be a much longer description, well, much longer, but a more detailed description in a different video that will show you guys in more detail. But a very short version is, as you guys read, for each chapter you'll read here in Augustus's Everett, you will pick 2 quotes from that chapter. So for example, if you're reading chapter 1, you'll pick 2 quotes from chapter 1. In the first quote you'll pick, and you'll write that quote down on a Word document. You'll write that quote down, and then you'll explain in 1 or 2 sentences why that quote is significant to you. Again, there's a lot of flexibility in there. You're the one who picks that quote. Again, so the way it works, your book will be open, right? So you're reading chapter 1 if it's assigned that day. As you're reading, you come across a statement. Like, wow, this is great. I'm going to use this. So you have your laptop open, and you copy that quote. And then the first one, you explain why you selected that quote and why that quote is significant to the story or to you. Now, you'll do this twice, but the second one's a little bit different. Again, you'll pick a quote from chapter 1, if you're doing chapter 1. And for this one, though, after you type out the quote, you're going to put in a question about that quote. So the first quote, you explain the significance, why this quote seems to you to matter or be important. What does it reveal? The second one, again, you'll start off with a quote. The second one, you're going to put a question. So as you're reading, you come across something, your book will be out, you're reading, you come across it, and you're like, I'm going to use this quote right here, but I don't understand what's going on. So I'm going to write that quote out, and then I'm going to have a brief question about what's going on in that quote, and I'll follow that up. So you will for each chapter, you're going to have 2 quotes. In Augustus, Anthony Everett, and then each of the individual primary sources you guys read here, you'll also have 2 quotes. And that'll be for every chapter and for every primary source. So these will all add up. So you guys have a Word document, and so for each day, you will just start adding to that Word document day by day, all the chapters with their 2 quotes, the significance, and the question for each of those. And I don't get you guys too confused. You guys are probably a little bit hazy on exactly what you're doing. I will leave that for the second video where I'll show you guys an exact sample and more specifically describe how to do this. So it's not hard. It sounds like it's hard. It's not. That'd be fairly easy, frankly. You'll simply have your laptop handy. As you read, you'll just naturally come across 2 quotes per chapter, like, I'm going to use this one. Okay, great. So you find a quote that really strikes you, and you're going to use that one. You'll do it a second time. And you'll do 2 quotes for each chapter in Augustus and for each primary source here in the textbook. And I'm going to stop right there because I don't want you guys, we'll make a separate video and I'll be much more specific exactly how to do it. But the takeaway is it's not hard. It's quite easy to do. It's worth a lot of points, be very helpful to your grade, and it helps you guys process the reading. The whole point is to get you guys engaged in the 2 texts you guys are reading. That's the whole point. And even for me, when I'm grading too, I look forward to seeing what the quotes you guys selected from each of these individual chapters or primary sources. I like to see how your mind's processing the reading. So, okay. That's enough on that. Watch the separate video explaining how to do it in more detail and the sample. All right, Canvas discussions. These are pretty straightforward and simple. You'll have 2 of these. You'll be a prompt, and you respond to that prompt, and then you also, once you're done responding to that prompt, you respond to other students. We will have, I believe, 3 video responses this semester. You'll see these in modules, but you'll watch 3 documentaries. They're all quite different from each other. So some are kind of short and fun. I have a drunk history one in there you guys will enjoy. Cleopatra's Sister Arsinoe. And I have you guys watch a movie or documentary, and then I'm going to have you guys watch another documentary. All the explanation will be in modules on how to do those, but we'll have 3 of those this semester. All right, and then the critical analysis paper. Now we're going to build all semester in the readings, and this paper is going to be built on Anthony Everett Augustus, and it will be built on the human record by Andre Overfield. So that paper you guys will do, which we do at the end of the semester, that paper is going to be the summation or the conclusion of all your reading and all your processing and thinking, and there'll be obviously a separate video explaining how to do that paper. There'll be a prompt and sample and so forth to get you guys rolling. You'll find that in modules. That paper is worth a lot of points, and it's an important part of your grade and your learning process. But again, you can see much more details in Canvas when you click on the video how to do the paper and also the prompt there. And finally, last but not least, the 5th area of assignments are exams. The exams are based 100% on the lectures. So as you guys will see in modules, there's lectures on all the chapters, there's videos there. So the way you guys want to do it is, as you guys are watching the lecture, make sure you guys pause the lecture and write down anything you guys see that's highlighted. Now, some of my lectures have quite a bit of text. Don't freak out. If it's not highlighted, typically you don't need to write it down. But if it's highlighted, that's where you want to pause the lecture briefly and write that down. So these notes you're accumulating based on the lectures will be an immense help to you guys on the exams. The exams are based 100% on the lectures. So if you have good notes as you do the exam, your note is open note. Now, it's not open other source, but it's open note. So when you guys are taking the exam, you can have all your notes all lined up. And so when you're going through the exam, you'll have your notes ready to go right there. So you don't have to wonder, like, I wonder. No, you don't need to wonder. Your notes are ready to go with you there. So take good notes based on the lectures, and you'll do very well in the exams. There's 4 of them. They're multiple choice, true and false. You guys do a good job taking good notes. Pay attention to the lectures. I'll do my best in lectures to make them good. Take good notes, and you'll do well in the exams. So that's the whole class right there. So you have your quotes responding to the readings. That's the first one. You have your Canvas discussions. You have your video responses. You have your paper due at the end of the semester, and you have 4 exams. Now here you can see how that breaks down. Grading and points, response to readings. That's that first category. Those are the quotes you guys are working on that you guys will be selecting. That's 150 points. Canvas discussions are 56 points. You have 2 of them. Video responses, you have 3 of those. All total, they're worth 100 points. The critical analysis papers will have 50 points. And finally, the exams, all total, there's 4 of them are worth 200 points. And you can see how the grade breaks down. Obviously, in Canvas, the nice thing is, as soon as I grade something, you guys can see how you're doing. So you're not surprised. You can see how your grade's developing. All right, let's get to the last items here. So general class info, makeup policy, and attendance. So now this is an online class, so in a sense, we don't really have attendance, right? But there is consequences. I want to encourage you guys. There's always some students who, let's see what I say. They look at the to-do list in Canvas, and they think, maybe I could pass this class by only focusing on the to-do list. I don't need to watch the lectures. I don't need to read these books. I can just somehow wing it by doing the actual assignments. So even though in modules I see all these lectures and reading homework and stuff, I don't need to do that stuff. I don't need to learn anything. I'm just going to hammer on the actual assignments. That won't work. You're going to fail the class. So if you're not going to do it for the intrinsic value of being educated and hope for the pleasure of being educated as you're doing it, it's work too, of course, I know. But just a practical matter. If you're only thinking, I'm kind of going to wing my way through just trying to do the assignments, I'm going to ignore all the core of the class. I'm just going to focus on assignments. It's not going to work well. So that's the only part about attendance. So that it makes sure if it's in a module and you see it in modules, it's because it's important. So follow the modules day by day. Do all the course work. All right. So late work. So as you guys know, Canvas is very time sensitive. So when an assignment closes, it closes. So late work is not easily accepted. So, but talk to me. So let me know if you had a medical emergency or you're ill or something. Just let me know on a case by case basis. We'll see what we can do about that. But it's very important not to turn in late work if at all possible. But if something comes up, let me know, and so I can figure out what we're going to do about that. So it's your responsibility to drop the class if you need to. Sometimes students, sometimes for very good reasons, they realize, I can't put the time in I need to in this class. Okay, I respect that. That sometimes that happens. So if that's the case for you, that's fine. But just protect your GPA. I don't do a lot of dropping myself, but protect your GPA. It's easy to drop. Just get in there and drop the class, and you'll be fine, because you don't want to get an F for a class you're not even in anymore. It doesn't make any sense, right? So that's strictly for you guys. Protect yourselves. All right, we're about done here. Academic honesty or dishonesty. So cheating, plagiarizing, don't do it. Don't do it. So if you're doing video responses or working on your paper, etc., we have pretty good software. I'm just telling you. And this software is not bad too. So if you're trying to find an easier, softer way that does not involve you doing the work and learning, but you're trying to pretend that you learned something, usually ends badly for the student. So for your own good, I beg you, don't do that. Yeah, don't go through a whole semester and fail because you got desperate at the end and started cutting and pasting or using ChatGPT or whatever. It's not going to end well. So even if the very simple act that it's not moral, it's not right, you're cheating yourself, you're not getting an education, even if none of that appeals to you, which hopefully it does, but if it doesn't, that's okay. If none of that appeals to you, be very practical and pragmatic, which is, do I want to take this class over again because I was lazy and I cheated, I plagiarized? And so the answer would be no. So that little demon appears on your shoulder like cut and paste, do ChatGPT, or whatever it may be. Kick that little guy off. That little guy is not your friend. So anyways, enough about that. Extra credit, there's some great things you guys can do extra credit, but I think I'll make a separate video on extra credit. I think I will not go into that on this syllabus video. I think I'll make a separate extra credit video for you guys, describing what things you guys can do. Last few things here, we're about the end. Campus security. This is an online class, so that's not really an issue for you guys. Although if you are on campus, I would recommend the Campus Shield app the college uses, which has many, many very good qualities about it. But again, if you're not on campus and you're off campus, which this being an online class, you don't need to worry about that. And most of this here is actually if you were in person, which we are not. So I think we're good. Almost all of that is what we do if we were in person. There are important things to know. I say the only thing that would matter, I suppose, when you guys are involved on the discussion board, be thoughtful with each other, be kind. Be kind to each other. So keep things positive on the discussion board. There are lots of very good resources here on campus. So if you need extra assistance with your exams or the class in general, please make use of that. There's a lot of good resources here on campus. So please make use of that, and I can make it a little bigger for you guys. We also want to keep our class, of course, always safe. Sexual misconduct, if you ever saw something happen in class, please alert me, let me know. And again, we're an online format, so hopefully there's some level of separation from that. But we know in the online world, things can happen there too, as you guys know. So please keep in mind the college has quite strict policies on that. Be safe with your boundaries with your fellow students. So please alert me if anything happens that you're concerned about. And one last thing on the syllabus, all kinds of good resources here on campus. So please make use of those if those can help you. Yeah, and I think maybe I'll wrap it up right there. So I think you guys are up and running. Our modules is going to be our place to meet each other, right? So you'll see the daily assignment, the weekly assignments, um, the readings there for you, and there'll be explanation videos, how to do specific things. All the assignments are there, as you guys know. The exams are all there, the video responses, the discussion is all there in modules laid out for you guys. So it should work well. And yeah, welcome to class, everybody. It's going to be a very good semester. And we'll see you back on the screen. You'll see me in very different guises, different shirts and ties and hats and stuff over the semester. But in any case, welcome to class, everybody. I'm really glad to have you guys. It's going to be a fabulous semester together on the great journey of examining the human experience over time. So good to see everybody. We'll see you at the next one. Take care, everybody. Bye-bye.